All right, hello and welcome back to the Listening to Your Gut podcast. This is a super cool, super cool chat that I'm about to have with a very new friend. We're talking less than 24 hours new friend that we've been chatting for the past like 50 minutes. And I feel like we've been connected for much longer than, just less than 24 hours. So I have Evie Jenner here today. She is from the UK. I'm going to share with you real quick how we connected, and then I'm going to let her share more about who she is and what she does. But yesterday, and I feel like just, fates align. I saw this Instagram live come up on my phone, and Evie was on with Sarah Jane Case, which, if you know, she is a big Enneagram expert. And I thought, you know what? Wow. I saw the title of it and I thought that is super cool. Like, I want to listen in on that, like how the Enneagram is connected to the feminine cycle. You all know that I am deeply into both of those things. I know more about the feminine cycle than I do Enneagram, but I told Evie, I was just enamored by her. She is just such a genuine individual. I feel I need to mention this because I do. She is definitely way younger than me, but you couldn't tell because of the way that she conducts herself, and she is just wiser beyond her years. So gosh, Evie, I know that was long-winded, but I am so freaking excited to have you on the podcast. I am so excited to foster this relationship, this continued friendship between the two of us. And so welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much, Kelly. If you could, just follow me around in life and just remind me of that'd be amazing. I would feel incredible all of the time. What a beautiful description of me. Thanks. I feel very loved.
Awesome.
You're
Well, I
right.
love
We
you.
have only
I love you already.
Yeah, me too. I love you. Yeah, we've known each other, less than 24 hours. We connected. You reached out and sent just the nicest message. And yeah, it's been a wild 24 hours, but here we are. And I'm so glad. I do think fate has definitely played a part here. But I'm really honored to be here, and I feel really, lucky, blessed, whatever the right word is, to be sharing this space with you and to be on your podcast. Oh my gosh, so cool. Listening to Your Gut, what a fantastic name as well. That is
Well, thank you.
wicked.
Well, I mean, likewise, I feel the same energy, the same vibes, the same blessings right back at you. So, yeah. So, Evie, tell the listener more about you, because we just had a nice long conversation. So I feel I know so much about you, but share with the audience, your background, how you got into the health and wellness space. If you feel comfortable and feel like sharing your health journey, your health history, and really how it's led you into what you're doing now.
Yeah, of course, sure. So I am a certified Enneagram coach with a special interest in cyclical living. So I love menstrual cycles, and I love supporting people with menstrual cycles in learning how to work with their cycle, not against it. How can we see our menstrual cycle as an opportunity rather than an inconvenience, which it potentially has been sold to us as? And the reason that I'm here at this point in my life is because when about 10 years ago, when I was 18, I became very ill very quickly, and I was so ill I was at times bedbound. I lost the feeling and the movement in the left side of my body, and the doctors really couldn't work out what was wrong with me, because all of my tests, all of my labs were normal. That old chestnut. And that was quite devastating. I couldn't go to university or college. I missed out on a lot of life, and I was really ill. Just couldn't do a lot, and so I at times felt like I'd lost myself completely. And I think the statistic is different in the US, but over here in the UK, it takes on average about 9 years to get diagnosed with endometriosis, which is looking like what I will end up being diagnosed with. And about 2 months ago, a couple of practitioners also realized that it's looking like I definitely have PCOS as well. So, period problems and a misunderstood menstrual cycle has been in my wheelhouse forever. This is something that I have known and lived. And so, I have spent hours and hours and hours, delving into all of the research and all of the information, just trying as best as I can to learn as much as I can, about the menstrual cycle and actually how it could look. I think it's important to recognize that period pain is super, super common, but it is not normal. We shouldn't be experiencing any pain when we bleed or in the run up. And so I think once we can start to get our head around that, actually we can see, whoa, we maybe are living far away from where we should be. And I just have a real heart to help people kind of get home, to be living where they should be. And so yeah, that's kind of my story in a whistle stop tour of my story. But if anybody's listening right now and thinking, yeah, I really struggle with my period. I don't think mindset shifting is going to do much. I've seen it happen for myself. I've worked with countless women, and I've seen the shift happen for them. So don't turn off yet. There's more to it than just some positive thinking, I promise.
I love that. And to touch on the mindset piece for just a moment, I
Mm,
that is not talked about enough. And I think we can often, like you said, kind of turn a blind eye to it because it's almost like people think that's so easy that how could that possibly work? And
yeah,
really, in actuality, it's not. It's a very hard thing to change your mindset. Um, but I think at the root of most all dis-ease is a mindset work, right? I
yeah,
mean, coming from my background of my history of healing, same thing. Blood work came back, oh, you look fine, everything's normal, but I didn't
mm,
feel normal, right? And
mm,
looking at all of that blood work, a lot of that made me realize through years and years of my own research too that it was a lot of mindset stuff that I needed to fix. Like a lot of what was happening down here in my gut was directly correlated to what was going on in my head.
yeah,
And really shifting that thought process, that the thinking that I was doing and the way I was talking to myself and my body,
yeah.
I mean, has transformed me in more ways than one. So I appreciate you talking about that because yeah, it does get a bad rap, I do believe. But it is so crucial to the healing journey.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Because when we think of the healing journey, we're never just going to heal that body part or that disease or that chronic illness on
Yeah.
its own. We can't compartmentalize ourselves, who we are. We are interconnected. And so the more we can embody this space between the mind and the womb for this conversation today, or the mind and the gut, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, we see, transformation happening on a much deeper level, or a much quicker level sometimes, because we're a whole human. We're not just a brain and we're not just a body, that we are, connected. And so if
Yes.
we can shift our perspective to wanting to be embodied, I want to be living in tune with my menstrual cycle. I want to be living in tune with my gut. I want to be living in tune, with my fingernails. I want all of me to be on the same page, and I want to be able to listen to all these different parts of me and then be able to respond. And so what happens is when we're not in a place of being able to work on our mindset or even consider that as an option, we can't answer, these asks or these questions or sometimes these screams from our body. And we're stuck then. You've tied both hands behind your back and you can't move, because you've cut off your mouthpiece.
Yeah.
That's, you deserve a lot more than that. I deserve a lot more than that. We deserve a lot more than that. And so how can we, shift our perspective to moving back towards this embodiment piece of, I'm a whole human and I have all these different parts of me and all of them count.
Ah. I love that. And I want to touch on too, the fact that you are potentially on the track to being diagnosed with endometriosis. It sounds like PCOS is also, in the works of being diagnosed, right? And then also you shared having the diagnosis of fibromyalgia, showing like showing, I guess what I want to say here is the way that you are coming off, in what you share and do, shows that, like, look at all those drastically potentially devastating conditions, right? But
Mhm.
you have found the good in those things. You found, through cycle syncing, the power of what that can do for you. That's not to say that you don't have, you know um uncomfortable menstrual cycles from time to time. I'm sure that's the case. I feel like we all from time to time experience that from stress and the like, right? But how incredible for you to be just this voice and spokesperson for thousands, millions of women around the world to say, hey, I have these things, but look, I'm not letting it stop me, and I'm showing you how I can work with my body, work with this feminine cycle that I was given by birth, and pouring myself into how that can really help me in the interconnectedness of what is my body, you know?
Yeah, totally, Kelly, totally. I think if you've been told by a doctor, you will always be ill. You will never work again. You will never carry children. You will, not be able to maintain, a normal life schedule. That's devastating. And when we look at, primarily who doctors are saying that to, it's women. It's because, we've spent about 2% of the research, if we look at all of the medical research that's ever been done, I think it's less than 2% has ever been done on women. 50% of the population, or if we think about people with uteruses, if we want to think of it from that point of view as well, absolutely. Overwhelmingly, it's us that have been told you can't and you won't, and not for you. And so it's so important that, I am not the only one with this story. You are not the only one with your story. There are thousands, millions of us who have been told this information and just been left to get on with it. And that is not fair, and
Yeah.
it's not okay. And so when people talk about, going to work, for me, it's just the greatest honor to be able to sit here today and have this conversation and know that there's a way out. Because 10 years ago, 9 years ago, 8 years ago, that wasn't true for me. And I didn't think it was ever going to be true for me. And so when we're talking about a mindset shift, or trying to flip the narrative or reimagine the narrative, it's all of us, showing up and telling our stories. It's all of us saying, yeah, me too, and sticking our hand up. It requires this thing called community, and the great thing is we're built for that.
Yes.
Actually, we love that, and that's where the Enneagram comes in so beautifully, that whilst we are all so different, so beautifully different, we are interconnected by this need and desire to be together. And so that's what's so cool about this work that you're doing as well, and this podcast, bringing us together in a space to say, yeah, me too, this happened to me, and I need help, I want help, I want to know a different way of living. And there being, somebody with the information of how to do that. How exciting. It's so exciting.
It is. Well, and so I mean, one of the many reasons I was drawn to you was just this, like I said earlier, the connection between that you've made between the Enneagram and the feminine cycle. And what a cool interconnectedness. I mean, talking about interconnectedness, what a cool interconnectedness that that plays in our life. And so I would love for us to kind of, transition to, I think it would be great for you to share kind of a quick overview, if you will, of the feminine cycle, the phases. I know them. I know that my listeners have heard them before, but I would love for you to share that, again, and then really share with us how the two merge, how the two are blended together.
Yeah, totally, totally. I think also really key to point out at this point as well is that I've seen a lot of usually cisgendered men on TikTok talking about menstrual cycles recently. Cool to have them as part of the conversation. Cool that they're trying. They're talking a lot about women having 2 phases. And I just want to be really clear, it is 4. And we can make space for 4 and we can take up more space. There are 4 phases. And let's talk about what each of them are.
Yeah.
So we start with our bleed, with our period. This is cycle day, 1 to 3 or 1 to 7 or 1 to 9, depending on your cycle length. This is whilst we're bleeding. We could, liken this to winter. And so you might hear the menstrual cycle, or the menstrual phase, excuse me, or the period, also known as the inner winter. Why? It's because this is the time to rest and recharge and release. The uterine lining is shedding. Physically, we are releasing. Is there an opportunity to release emotionally here? Yes, I would love to invite you into considering that. Oh, this is a gorgeous place to really hone your intuition and maybe just release from what's gone on this past cycle, this past month, and get in tune with, really how you're feeling. This is the perfect moment to do that. But after we finish bleeding and we move through into the follicular phase, and this could also be likened to springtime. And you might have heard of it spoken about or read about it as inner spring. So this is kind of when your energy is starting to come back. Hormonal levels during our period are all at their lowest. During in inner spring, we're starting to see some rises. We've got estrogen beginning to rise, and we've got a couple of other hormones. I was going to get technical then, but we don't need to. Put my science hat down. We see them starting to rise, and yeah, we've got some motivation and some optimism, and we start wanting to get moving again, and that's really exciting. And then at the peak of this, we've got ovulation, our ovulatory phase, which kind of finishes, or our follicular phase culminates in this moment of ovulation. So the ovulatory phase lasts about 24 hours. But we could kind of stretch it out to 3 days. I like to think of the moon cycles. And we know that moon cycles, each phase of the moon lasts for about 3 days. So I think we can stretch out this juicy, beautiful ovulatory phase into about 3 days. And this is when, communication and connection are peaking. We are, vibrant, and there's a sense of vitality, and maybe we've got a higher libido at this moment, or maybe we just feel more open to having a higher libido at this moment. And it's a really gorgeous time to, be with friends, be with people, jump on Instagram and do a live, connect with people that you haven't spoken to for a while, because this is maybe when you're at your best. And then, quite quickly, we jump into the luteal phase, or inner autumn. And so just like the trees starting to kind of lose their leaves, we notice that our energy starts to dwindle in these last 2 weeks of our cycle. And this is a really beautiful time to slow down and honor the sacred no. And the sacred no is, as it sounds, it's saying no and absolutely meaning it. This is the time when progesterone is rising, and serotonin is lower, and our immune system is lower. So we have to take care of ourselves at this time, because otherwise we're going to end up sick. Excuse me. We're going to end up sick, or we're going to end up exhausted, and we're going to enter into our inner winter, or our period, again from a place of depletion. And that is a recipe for a painful period, Kelly. We don't want to do that. And so you can kind of, imagine the ebb and the flow of the menstrual cycle as we're talking about it there. We are different on every single day. Kelly, you and I won't have a day to day hormonally for another 28 days or 30 days, depending on the length of our cycle. We absolutely have to honor that. So we have to move away from this 24-hour, very cisgendered male hormonal cycle. And we have to start to, get on board with the fact that we move, on a 28-day cycle. We cannot get up and go again and again and again. We've got to honor the ebb and the flow, as it were.
Oh yeah, and I love that you also brought in the seasonal aspect of that too, because that has really, such a visual person, and when I learned the seasonal part of it too, it was like it just made even more sense than it already did to me, and I was like, "Yes, that is brilliant." And like, me being in my luteal, the very beginning of my luteal phase right now, I
Mm.
do feel that. Like I do feel like I'm starting, like my energy, I know I can feel it starting to decrease. I just feel like I'm getting ready to go into more of that hibernating stage,
Yeah.
for the menstruation phase. So I can't tell you what it's done for me, cycle syncing, to
Mm.
the extent that I have, which is really just like I told you earlier. I haven't quite mastered the food aspect, which I'm going to be learning from you for sure. But just in terms of my movement and productivity wise, just how I conduct myself on a daily basis, I mean, those two things alone have changed my life. So it truly benefits you in so many different avenues, so many different facets of your life.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? That just those two shifts have made such a huge impact. And I think, I mean, there's a key point there that I think it's maybe not the worst thing in the world that you haven't got to the food part yet, because we don't want to end up in analysis paralysis, information overload. I have to do all of these things to look after my body. And if I don't do all of them, it's going to be crappy.
Right.
No, 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 no. You honor where you're at. If it's the right time to start building in, a movement plan that honors your body, do that. If it's the right time to start introducing different foods to have at different times, do that. I think what could trip us up in anything, in gut health, in cycle syncing, in trying to think of a third something there, I can't think of one, but in most things, when we start, we have all this energy to begin and get it done, and then 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months in, it feels so overwhelming, and we just end up throwing it all in the bin. I think a really beautiful space to start, as you're introducing the food in, would be to start introducing new drinks in, different drinks. And
Yeah.
I say that, so today I am cycle day 6, so I'm
Mhm.
still bleeding. So I am sipping on hibiscus tea and cacao like absolutely nobody's business. It's life-changing stuff. When you look at the research behind cacao, and then also hibiscus and rosehip tea and red raspberry leaf tea, oh my gosh, the research is fascinating. It's beautiful and it works. How fantastic. And so that could be a great place to start. So if you're listening to this and thinking, yeah, but I've got a full-time job and, I've got a life, I've got a partner, I've got kids, I've got friends, I've got family members I take care of. When am I going to find the time? Totally, totally. It's one day at a time. You do the next best thing today, and then we get to tomorrow and we introduce, whatever's next on the agenda. But stick with it. Don't feel overloaded and bombarded. Journey with what your body's asking for. Out of the things that me and Kelly are discussing right now, maybe food is jumping out at you. Maybe it's introducing a tea to help. Maybe it's introducing, a movement change. Maybe it's introducing cycle syncing. Whatever's jumping out at you first, go with that. Listen to your body. She's so smart. And she never, ever lies.
Yeah.
Trust her. Yeah. So I
Oh,
think that's really key as well.
yeah. I love that you shared that. That is such a key point to, which is what you shared, in that we don't want to, you know, pun intended, bite off more than we can chew, right? Because then we end up, like you said, like, oh my God, like we end up throwing in the towel ultimately
Yeah.
because it's too much. And
Yeah.
so, like you said, if there's something that resonates, try that, right? And I also think it's important to mention too, because I know this reflects your journey as well. Neither of us did it right away.
Yeah.
It is a continual process, like everything in life. You are constantly learning and growing. I didn't just wake up one morning and say, "Yep, I know how to cycle sync and here we go." Like it was exactly to your point. It was, let's try, for me it was movement first. Let's try the movement piece first.
Mm,
And then, okay, let's try to sync my productivity.
mm,
And
mm,
now that I feel comfortable with that, I am ready to move
mm,
to the food piece.
mm,
But again, it would have been so much different if I would have tried to tackle all of that at once. And I probably wouldn't be here sitting here with you talking about the success that I've seen,
Yeah.
because I didn't do it the right way. I didn't allow my body to really harness the changes and benefit from the changes, and really love the changes too, because I think you have to love what it does for you in order to keep doing it, right? And I promise you, if you try it, you will love it. You will love it. Yeah, I don't know how you couldn't.
Yes, totally, totally. And nor me, Kelly, with the, if I tried to do everything all at once, I wouldn't be sat here either. It's not possible. And,
Yeah.
and and so then if we remember that, oh, we're cyclical beings and we're moving on, an ebb and a flow, well, of course it's not possible to just, wake up and do it and stick to it. There's gonna be parts of your journey where it's, a steep incline of learning and growth, and then we're going to maybe drop back down again, and then we'll get back up and go again. And so just to encourage anybody that's maybe started cycle syncing and then has fallen off and thought, well, it just doesn't work for me, my periods are too bad, my body is too broken, I can't get my brain to work like that, it's just not possible. Oh, I hear you. I've been you. I am you sometimes. Because, we're cyclical. It's a journey. It's
Yeah.
totally a journey. And so this is such a safe space here to just start again quietly. You don't even have to tell anyone. You can just, try something new today. And the research is there to just give it another go. Uh, and so I encourage you again, if that's you, if you've tried before and it just hasn't worked, oh, try again for me. Just try again for me today. And if it still sucks, fine. But potentially there're going to be whispers from your body saying, thank you. Thanks for doing that. I appreciate that. And maybe we're going to experience, some of the different opportunities from each cycle that month potentially. And so what's key there is the awareness, is having the information to know if it's maybe working a little bit or not. And so having, easy to digest information close to you, around you, maybe popping up on your Instagram feed, it could be really handy. And so, use my account for that. Use Kelly's account for that, because there's loads on there.
Yes, definitely. Well, and so I think this other piece that I'm really excited to talk about with you, which is the Enneagram,
Yeah.
is something that I'm less
Mhm.
versed in. And you and I have both chatted about the fact that we're both ones, which is super cool. But I would love for you to share just again an overview on Enneagram, because I've actually never had anyone on to talk about Enneagram. I've always wanted to. So you are my
Wow.
first to talk
Oh
about
my
it. So
gosh.
I would love for you to give again another overview, and then I'm really excited to talk about how these two merge together, because like you and I talked about before we hopped on the mic, this is never seen before. Like, this is new stuff, and
Yeah.
you are leading the charge. Like, there's
Yeah.
there's no one else out there. And so how freaking cool that we are talking with the expert on this right now, that it's merging the two in real time and showing us that it's possible. I'm like a little schoolgirl, like freaking out inside. It's just so cool.
Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, I mean, I feel really excited about it as well, because I think it really works.
Yeah.
And my client work would suggest that, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So I hope my excitement isn't misconstrued as big-headedness. I'm just desperate for women to live their best lives. And I think the Enneagram gives us a cheat sheet in how to do that, for sure. So if we think of the Enneagram kind of like a GPS system, it shows us if we're on our healthiest path, or if we're maybe struggling a little bit, or if we're somewhere in the middle. And if you're listening to this right now, maybe Google an Enneagram and get it in front of you, because having a nice visual aid is always helpful. But it looks a bit like a crazy, I was going to say spider diagram. It just looks like a crazy diagram with lots of lines on it. So
Like
it
a
could
star,
feel overwhelming.
right? Kind of like a star.
Kind of like a star, for sure. Yeah, yeah. And there's some triangles in there, and there's lots of maths involved. We won't be talking about that today, because that's not my dealio. You can have me back on if you want to know the maths, and I can tell you about it then. But the Enneagram, we kind of use it as an ancient personality typing tool. So you might have heard of Myers-Briggs, and you might have heard of Strength Finders. But the Enneagram has been around for a lot longer. We can date it as far back as Pythagoras, if you remember from school in geometry class, Pythagoras' theorem. It's really, really old. What's cool and different about the Enneagram is that, one, it's stood the test of time. It's still here. I think that's pretty cool. But also, we have this element of dynamic stability. So the Enneagram moves with you. So we have these 9 types. We have the type 1, which is known as the perfectionist. We have the type 2, which is known as the friend. We have the type 3, which is known as the achiever. We have the type 4, which is known as the individualist. The type 5, known as the investigator. The type 6, known as the loyalist. The type 7, known as the enthusiast. The type 8, known as the challenger. And the type 9, known as the peacemaker. And what's fantastic is all of these types or numbers are connected by this star. And so both me and Kenny are a type 1. When we are healthier, we move towards the type 7 and we become more enthusiastic, which, heck, type 1s can sometimes need a little bit of help with that. But when we're, a little bit more stressed out and struggling, we move back towards the type 4, the individualist, and we can struggle with some of the lower tendencies of the type 4. So, Eve, what does this mean? This means that the Enneagram moves and flows with you. So when you're struggling, it moves and flows with you. And when you're, vibing hard and loving life, it moves and flows with you. What else moves and flows with us? Or what else do we move and flow with? Oh yeah, our menstrual cycle. And so I think if you can layer the information about the menstrual cycle over the information that we have about your Enneagram type, oh my gosh, we have a cheat sheet on how to live your life, each phase of your cycle, to the highest or the best version of yourself. How to love yourself, how to care for yourself, how to listen to yourself on such a deeper level. And so we don't need to spend hours and hours and hours working out which part of the menstrual cycle you probably struggle with the most. If you tell me your type, I can tell you where you're going to struggle the most, because each type has certain struggles and foibles, as it were. And we can put those two together and absolutely, expedite this healing, or this growing, or this journey. Now, it's not always about getting to the destination, totally. But when you're in a lot of pain, often it is. And so I think, yes, potentially there is a somewhere in between there, where actually having a cheat sheet and knowing yourself a bit quicker, a bit deeper, a bit quicker, could be really helpful. And I know for me, it definitely was. Does that make any sense?
That makes a whole bunch of sense. As you were saying that, I was like, first of all, I've said this, but I'll say it again. This is just brilliant, this connection. And then as you were talking, I was like, oh my gosh, they're just the flood of questions that come about from this connection. So I guess me, like maybe a little bit selfishly right now, wanting to know, you said you can tell each type what they're going to struggle with in their cycle. For ones, what is that?
Totally, yeah. So type 1s are part of the dependent stance, which means that we move towards people. Whatever room we're in, we move towards people. What do you need? How can I help you? Do you want me to do that? Let me pick that up for you. I'll come pick you up. Let me sort that. Yeah. Which is great, beautiful, loving. And sometimes there can be no end to that loving and giving. And we feel that it's our duty. Type 1 needs to know that they're good or good enough and not bad. And so they try and do everything perfectly. Mm-hmm. They try and show up for their friends and their family members, their colleagues perfectly all the time. Now that doesn't work during your luteal phase. You cannot show up for everybody perfectly. It's not possible. And so being able to recognize that I am going to have to fight myself and my inner critic these first few luteal phases until I get them under my belt and know that people will not stop loving me if I stop doing the most loving things I can think of a few days out from my period. The more that we can teach our body that and teach her that she is safe and that she can meet her own needs first before needing to meet anybody else's, that's going to be transformational for the type 1. It's going to be different if you're in the aggressive stance. So aggressive stance people, type 3, 7s, and 8s, so the achiever or the enthusiast or the challenger, they really struggle to slow down. They're moving at 100 miles an hour. These 3 types have the highest energy on the Enneagram. They're moving so fast all the time. They are doing, they're achieving, they're challenging, they're sorting stuff out. So asking them to rest on their period is not going to happen. They will not be creating space for that by themselves. It will either get to the point when their body forces them into rest, potentially through, dis-ease, through an illness, through a very heavy, uncomfortable period, through something else. Or we can recognize that this group of people really struggle to rest. They don't know how to, and they don't incorporate that into their life. Generally, they've not learned how to do that yet, potentially. And so if we can teach them how to rest for them, not how you and me rest, Kelly, but how to rest for them, wow, we can transform this phase, this inner winter phase, where there's an opportunity to release, where there's an opportunity to get in touch with our intuition, where there's an opportunity to really feel our emotions and get back to this peaceful place, which often by cycle day 5 or 6, we have reached. That's going to be transformative for them. And then similarly, again, if you think about the withdrawing stance, so that's types 4s, 5s, and 9s, these guys are really good at resting. You tell them to rest on their period, oh, honey, they will. They already are. They're very good at it. What these guys struggle with is kind of getting up and finding their mojo and getting going again. And so they're going to struggle more in the follicular phase. Potentially, they're not going to enjoy that ovulatory phase because it feels like an overwhelm of stimulus to them, because they, on average, have a much lower energy level than the rest of the Enneagram numbers. So we can work with each type in a really bespoke way, where we're not, sharing information that just doesn't need to be shared. I don't need to tell a type 9 to rest. I need to tell them to, get up and go back to work after their period. That's what they need help with. That messaging isn't so easily found in the wider cycle syncing or cyclical living or period world. Why? Because we live in quite a type 3 dominant society. We live in an achiever, success, let's go, let's push harder society. So there are some messages that are missed completely from a cycle syncing perspective that, a lot of us need. A lot of people who are, 1s, 2s, 4s, 5s, 6s, and 9s, they need that info. And so that's why I think it's so important to apply and use it as a cheat sheet, because I don't think, with the best will in the world, that somebody teaching menstrual cycles alone can reach every person. It's not bespoke enough. It's not unique enough. And your body, Kelly, and my body, and everybody else who's listening, bodies and minds, we're really specific. There's nobody like me. There's nobody like you, Kelly. My cycle is so specific to me. What I've been through health-wise is so specific to me. What I've been through maybe mental health wise or trauma wise is so specific to me, and the Enneagram can encapsulate that in a way that holds a space for that, puts language around that, and allows us to kind of use it as a jumping off point to not waste any more time.
Oh my gosh, Evie, like, I wanted to drop my jaw to the floor like multiple times. I mean, this is just, I'm like, where in the hell has this been all my life? Like, this connection. It's brilliant. I can't stop saying that enough. And when you said, it was almost like I knew that was coming when you said for ones, the luteal phase,
Mm,
because I have been feeling that so much this week. Like I have a pretty full schedule this summer.
mm,
And this week I just hit a wall and I was like, girlfriend, you gotta pawn some stuff off. Like you gotta cut some things off this week. It doesn't mean you don't ever go back to it, but you just gotta tell people no this week. And I did, and I feel so much better for it. But to your point, that is what I struggle with because I'm okay the rest of the time. But when I get to the luteal phase, and I think for me, because I think for a lot of us, it is the longest phase. You know, it can be up to 2 weeks, and for me,
yeah,
it is
yeah,
roughly 2 weeks.
mhm,
I think that's why I struggle with it because you look at a month, crap, that's like half your month, you know?
yeah,
And to be like telling yourself, oh, you might not be able to do that for someone who is uh more, I wouldn't say that I am programmed by society, but I am just one of those people who loves to do, right? Who loves to be constantly moving and
yeah,
going and being about. It's very hard for me to say, well, no, 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 we cannot do all the things that you want to do. You may
mhm,
have been able to do that last week in your
mm,
follicular phase, but not anymore.
mm,
So that resonates so much with me. And how cool that depending on what type you are, you struggle potentially with a different phase.
yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah,
whoa.
yeah. I think it's so disarming,
Yeah.
to have that information and know that you're not just crazy and it's not that you just can't get it. Actually, because of how you're wired from an Enneagram point of view, this is just where you're going to struggle more. Now, we cannot be, you know, we're not doing toxic positivity. We can't live in this space of everything's amazing all the time. We know physically there's an ebb and a flow to our energy, our emotions, our feelings. So it would make sense to be able to put those two together and know that, okay, yes, I do struggle, here in this area more. This set of stimulus is keying into where I struggle more physically and emotionally. Okay, that's okay. There's actually nothing, there are no morals attached to that. That's not good or bad, that just is. Now, if we ignore ourselves and let that carry on and carry on and carry on, yeah, that could be bad. But if we can look at it from a shame-free zone of, okay, this is where I'm just not showing up for myself how I need to in order to live the best version of my life. Okay, I can maybe take some steps towards that today and loving myself more in that, rather than you always get that wrong. You're terrible at this, and that's why I love the Enneagram, because there is no shame involved. We're not here shaming people. We use it to build compassion for ourselves and then for other people. We teach the Enneagram in full. We always want to be learning about the eight other types of people potentially in any given room, and how we can relate and connect to them. And that's what's so beautiful about bringing it alongside the menstrual cycle as well, is that our sisters and our friends who also have cycles, this brings us closer to them as well by deepening our understanding of them and how they work and where maybe they struggle and how we can support them. And so there's this third element of it, just builds community in such an easy and beautiful way. Why wouldn't we do it? Why wouldn't we use this information to bring us closer together in a world that so desperately needs it? Just feels like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, it connects. I mean, coming back to this interconnectedness, it just connects us more to who we
Yeah,
really are,
yeah.
internally. So I love that. I would love to know your thoughts on, in terms of like taking a test, if you will, for
Mm.
Enneagram. Do you have any that you specifically recommend? I'm thinking in my mind right now, and there are other things that I'll share with you too, that I'm thinking um just in terms of creation mode for you. But I
Yes.
envision you coming out with, I don't know if this is in your plan, but I envision you coming out with your own like quiz
Yeah.
with the two. I mean, I don't know what that looks like or how that looks, but I mean, whoa, sign me up because I'd be
Yeah.
taking that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, to go back to that original, I guess, question,
Mm.
which is, there's so many out there, right?
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
free and paid versions.
Mm.
Um, if someone wants to learn their type and then come to you and be like, "Hey, I'm a type 1. I want to learn how to sync both my Enneagram type and my feminine cycle. How do I do that?" But they want to come to you with that knowledge first. What would is there a, I guess this is a twofold question. Is there a website or a test you would recommend? And then two, how do you recommend someone go into that test? Because like for me, you speaking to the fact that when you and I are in our growth phase, we go to a 7. To be quite honest, I feel like I've been in that 7 energy for a long time, to the
Mhm.
point where I came back from an event last year in October, and I second guessed whether I was a 1. I was like, I think I'm a 7 because I
Yeah.
feel like that all the time. But I
Yeah.
know that I am intuitively a 1, and I just go there so very often
Yeah.
because I'm
Yeah.
creating so
Yeah.
very often and just in my zone. So for someone like me who would maybe want to take it again, but is fearful that, oh, what if it shows up that I'm a 7, but I'm not? You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Like how would you tell someone to approach going into that so that they can get the most accurate results for themselves?
Yeah, totally. An amazing question. And also good to recognize that you can go to your growth number and stay there for a good couple of months. It's similarly, you can go to your stress number and stay there for a good couple of months. We're responding to life as
Yeah.
humans. So that totally is a possibility. And you can be in that space for 3, 4, 5, 6 months and still be a 1, 100%. That is true. If life is just pushing you in that direction, then yeah, great, use that, live there, do that for a while, but you can know that you're still a 1. I think, and this might be an unfortunate answer, an upsetting one potentially,
Oh,
but
oh,
I hate the test
okay.
because there's such a lack of understanding. Telly, you could never be, found in 20 questions, on screen. It's just not possible. Now, could you use it as an indicator to whittle down to what type? Yes, absolutely. But don't rely on it completely and totally, because you're, far too exquisitely intricate for that. So, but this idea about linking the test up with the menstrual cycles is a very good one. So maybe I have to reconsider my feelings on this.
Well,
What I would say,
maybe it's not a quiz. I don't know, but I just feel something could you're gonna figure it out, I know, but I feel something.
I love that. Let's brainstorm together afterwards. I need the
Yes.
7 energy
Yes.
that you've got. Yeah. Um, what I would say is, take the test, whittle down, do some reading, read about the types, get some books, go on the journey. The Enneagram journey is lifelong. Okay. It is not, one and done. It's not you do, you go to a webinar and then you know yourself and you've figured it all out. No, sir. Unfortunately not. Or fortunately not, because you get to go on this beautiful journey of, the I was going to say the undressing of the soul. That sounds weirdly sexual and not what I mean. But this releasing and just coming into yourself in a really pure and vulnerable and beautiful way that the Enneagram journey allows for. What I would say is lots of Enneagram coaches do typing sessions. I have one called Find Your Type. By the time this podcast goes out, you'll be able to download it and spend an hour with me and work it out wherever you are. It's going to be a lovely recorded session, so that will be out by the time that this goes out. But you can also work one-on-one. So typing sessions are some of my favorite. 90 minutes of a deep dive of learning all about you and what motivates your behavior and why you respond the way you do, not what you do, but why you respond the way you do. So key. So there's a few routes in there, and I think it's what works for you at this time. Some of you, the 3s, 7s, and 8s, probably won't be able to wait, and so they'll already be looking up a test now. If you're going to go the test route, I think Truity So TRUITY, I think, have the best free test. I don't think you should pay for a test. True to you do get some free results. I don't think you should pay for a test, because I think if you're paying money, spend that money with a real human to have this connectiveness. The Enneagram is all about, connection and compassion. Traditionally, it was taught and shared orally. It was never written down in order to preserve this element of connection. So I think there's something really beautiful about that I would like to, as much as possible in 2023, honor.
I love that. I love that. Such a good answer. Because yes, you're right. To the whole person, we are not able to be seen accurately through a test. So coming from a teacher standpoint, like I preach that all the time,
Yes, of
one
course.
test result from my students does not indicate their level of
Mm,
skill, and
mm.
ability. So that was just spot on. I love that. I love the response. And yeah, which I mean, good Lord, I think we've been talking for like an hour. This has been incredible. But no, I mean, this is so great that I would love, I mean, first of all, I'm gonna have to have you come back. That's just a must.
Yes,
But
please.
I would love for you, as we start to wrap this up, to share how women can connect with you, because I mean, hello, why would you not be doing that? And how they can work with you, the services. I know you said that this offering is going to be coming out by the time that this podcast episode releases, so that's incredible. But I thought I saw, is there like a couples coaching?
Yes,
Ooh,
yeah,
that
there
sounds
is.
intriguing too. Yeah, so share all the things, please.
Okay. Thank you. I can't wait to come back. I think we could talk for another 7 hours really easily. So you can find me on Instagram at the Type Guide, and you can also find me at my website www.thetypeguide.co.uk. I work with people individually. I work with people in couples. I work with workplaces and teams. I love to work with families. So whatever your setup is, I'd love to work with you in whatever way. I deliver typing sessions. So a find your type session, a 90-minute session to understand yourself and what motivates you and discover your type. I offer that as a couple session. Oh, those sessions are so gorgeous. Really beautiful to do for, an anniversary or, an engagement gift. Really gorgeous. And then I also have a few different courses. So I have the Your Type Explored course, which is a 5-part series of working one-on-one, where we learn about all the major parts, the moving parts of your type. And then I also have a course called Your Type and Your Cycle, which is a 6-part course where we layer your type over your cycle and create a plan of how to support yourself on a really deep, special, transformative level. And I think, I don't have the dates for sure, but I'm going to be running a cohort of that course in September. So for September, the beginning of the year for a lot of people, if you're thinking, yeah, let's kick this off, come get on the wait list. Let's get ready. If you don't know your type, that's absolutely okay. We will cover that in the sessions, and we can work that out. And yeah, it's going to be a really special time, mainly to also make some friends, people to come along on the journey, as by your side. I think support is so key when we're doing menstrual cycle work and Enneagram work. Suzanne Stabile calls it solitary work that cannot be done alone. I just couldn't agree with that more. So if you're looking for a sisterhood or a place to be with other menstruating baddies, this is the place. So yeah, connect with me in all those places. Oh, I'm also on TikTok. If you're on TikTok. So yeah.
Oh, I gotta follow you there too. And your nutrition,
Oh my
the
gosh, yes. And then also, yes, thank you, Kelly. Good grief, Evie. It's almost 7 o'clock for me on a Friday night. And so yeah, I also love teaching people about how we can eat in tune with our menstrual cycle. So you can find me at Your Moon Kitchen, myself and a really incredible nutritional therapist. We've created a really special way to learn about your cycle and eat in tune with your cycle, which is so key. It's such a key part of the puzzle. I want to just put a disclaimer there as well that we are very anti-diet culture, and whatever your food journey has been so far, it's a safe space to come and be, and we are welcoming of everybody's journey, with their food and eating. So yeah, just wanted to put that out there. It is a safe space, and we will not be telling you, to go on any sort of diet at all ever. So yeah, just wanted to pop that there as well.
Gosh, I mean, as you were sharing that, I was like, okay, first of all, the first thought that comes to my mind is like, okay, sign me up for everything. And then second of all, I was like, it's like every offering you could want. Oh, you need this? I've got you for this. You need this? Like you are covering literally all the bases. It's
Oh,
just, it's incredible. And I know that this is not why you're doing this. This is not why any of us are doing this, but I know that you are just going to massively blow up. Like what you are doing is just absolutely incredible. I mean, I just can't even imagine how we clearly have lived without it for all this time, but like now knowing what I know and the connection between the two, I'm just like my mind is is absolutely blown and brain like fried in a good way of like, holy cow, like I have to reprogram my whole brain to think like, yes, we are interconnected in these ways. And yes, like our body is working for us in these ways. So harness it and like honor that. It's beautiful. It's
no.
beautiful what you're doing.
Kelly, thank you so much. That just means the world. And yeah, I guess I just can't stop thinking about the next generation of girls, the next generation of people that bleed, and just we've paid the stupid tax, we've paid, the idiot tax, we've paid the not knowing enough. And I just get so excited thinking about, yeah, just that next generation and the generation beyond that, who just get to always have, this information readily available to them if we do the work now. And that's what really, it's what gets me up in the morning, to create a safer space for absolutely everybody to be. So yeah, it's really exciting work that we're doing, and the fact that we get to do it together. Oh my
Yes.
gosh,
Oh my gosh, it's
absolutely
awesome.
wild.
Well, and I can just say this from our conversation. You can see the passion emanating through the screen. Like it is just it's very visible. It's very your intention comes across very clear. And so I want you to know that like I can tell the passion and the desire you have to make this happen, and that's why it is going to happen because
Oh,
you believe in it so much. I believe in you, and all the women that are listening to this podcast are rallying behind you and are here to support you and are here to learn from you and be educated by you. So it's an incredible thing.
oh, Kelly, I'm just so thankful to God, universe, whoever, fate. Thank you for bringing us together, because I think it's people like you who have like gone before and are holding the door open. Like I couldn't be more thankful to have this conversation today. It's life changing for me. So just thank you so much for the work that you're doing, and your journey, your story is so powerful. It's just incredible that you're inviting so many people in so many modalities of health, holding a space for all of them, to allowing as many people as possible to heal.
Yeah.
What the that's just incredible. So yeah, I'm so thankful, one, to know you and have you as a friend, but also, for this conversation, and your space that you hold for all of us in such a open and vulnerable way. It's incredible, so thank you for that.
Well, thank you. I mean, yeah, we all deserve to share our expertises and our ways of supporting one another and ourselves. And I mean, I couldn't think of a better way to do that than have this platform, this podcast, to be able to do so. So thank you. I hear that, I take it, and I appreciate it. You are a light. I'm so excited for women to get to know you and connect with you. Just thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you're 5 hours ahead, so I know, like you said, it's evening time for you. But thank you so much for spending the time with me today. I appreciate it.
Of course, absolutely, anytime you want me, I'll clear my schedule. So Thank you so much. It's been, yeah, an absolute honor and such a pleasure. So thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome. Thank you.